What's one rule that your school workplace has implemented that absolutely backfired? My high school banned girls from wearing any shirt that exposed their bra straps because seeing a bra strap would give high school boys evil thoughts. Most of the girls in school responded by wearing the same shirts they'd always worn, without bras. As a teenage boy, it was a happy couple weeks. The school tried to then mandate that all female students wear bras, until a male teacher asked a 15-year-old if she was wearing appropriate undergarments or not. She called him a pervert. Her parents, who thought the whole dress code things was as stupid as most of the students, threatened a sexual harassment suit against the school. Everybody in charge panicked and it all went back to the way it was before they tried to change anything. Until a male teacher asked a 15-year-old if she was wearing appropriate undergarments or not. This is my favorite tale of the thread. The thought of the yawning chasm that opened up beneath this rules makes me chuckle. During our general meeting last week, the owner of the company went on a bit of a rant about negative reviews of management on a popular jobs website with a green logo. He demanded that we stop posting negative reviews immediately and shamed anyone in the room who had done so. As you can guess, people doubled down and posted their grievances on the same day as the meeting. The green logo company doesn't take too kindly to that sort of behavior. Seriously, they will terminate service if management is caught doing that. Report it. Because of rumors of a drug problem in the school, the administration decided to drug test students. The media jumped all over that. Violation of our civil rights or something. The initial statement was that anyone who failed the test would be kicked out of school. After the 40th or so kid failed, they changed the policy to mandatory meetings with the counselor. After the 100th kid failed, they hired another counselor. Our school just brought in drug-sniffing dogs that would randomly come into classrooms. The thing was, the sheriff's department would always be parked in front of the school before the first bell with clearly marked K9 cars. So anybody who had drugs would see the cars and just skip school that day. Absences increased massively. No personal conversations. The office would be silent for hours and motivation took a huge nosedive. If the owner heard a personal conversation, he would call the person out and yell at them. God, that owner was a willy. Glad I got out. I took over managing a group whose previous boss had this rule. Productivity skyrocketed. The part I'm most proud of is the employee I was warned about being lazy and belligerent became one of my best assets. All it took was to treat him with respect. My old boss tried implementing an incentive scheme for the underperformers while anyone who consistently did well received nothing. 3 of us quit within a month. We used to be allowed to stream music etc on our computers. Spotify was an approved program and would come installed on your computer. Someone complained about productivity despite us always doing our work, and so they banned streaming of any kind on our computers. But now everyone just listens on their phone, so you walk around the office and nearly everyone has their phone out now, so it looks even worse when sponsors come into the office. Yo, Pandora, Spotify, and YouTube are easily my best work friends. Banging out emails all day without listening to music would be borderline unbearable. Work instituted a points system for being late or calling off sick. Accrue too many points and you get written up. Fired if it continues. They doled out the same number of points whether someone was a minute late or called off altogether. And if an absence lasted up to 5 days, it was still only one absence. So anyone who overslept or encountered heavy traffic and was running late would just stay home for the rest of the week. After several months, they decided that being late was only worth half a point. In our office, we're not allowed to have more than 14 consecutive days off. So one guy booked a cruise for a month, booked off 14 days, then 1 day back, then another 14 days off. He called in sick on his 1 day back. We weren't allowed to be friends with kids in grades above us, but we could be friends with kids in grades below us. That rule didn't last long. Turn to your left and shake hands with the person standing next to you. At an industrial site I used to work for, they introduced an absolutely no overtime policy. The people that most commonly worked overtime were the maintenance guys. They had to cut out their preventative maintenance in order to make their hours while being available for all shifts. It took 3 months of daily breakdowns before they decided to try something else. Boss insists that lunchtime is from 12 o'clock 12:30 p.m. No exceptions. Lunch is not paid time. The second day he comes in hot to trot with something for me to do between 12 o'clock and 12:30 and needs it done right away. I look over at my clock, which says 12:09 or whatever, and say, you said yesterday that lunch is from 12 o'clock to 12:30. No exceptions, and went back to my sandwich. If I don't get paid from 12 o'clock to 12:30, there's no way in heck I'm working for free. College removed chairs in cafeteria so people won't hang around. Now people just don't eat at the cafeteria. It's a ghost hall and most of the food is thrown away daily. Really sad. God forbid anyone socialize in a building of the college they're paying for while eating food they are also paying for. Lonadal, a 14 school in Lonadal, MO, late 80s, early 90s. Our fairly small, rural school went from K8. So, we split lunchtimes in our gym cafeteria. For some reason our school actually invested in a noise control system because we could apparently be quite loud during lunch, and I guess the teachers got tired of trying to keep us kids quiet-ish and eat. This new piece of equipment was mounted high on the wall and looked exactly like a stoplight. When it was green, we were free to talk. If it became yellow, we were to be careful of how much noise we made. If it turned red it would buzz loud, like when the game clock runs out at a basketball game. Installing this thing almost immediately had the opposite effect they desired. It became a game to us. We would only get quiet in order to make it go back to green. Then, as a large group, we would progressively get louder. We would stall it out at yellow before surging our collective voices to make it hit red and BUZZZZ, at which time we would all cheer, laugh and get quiet again to reset it to green. Good times. That's why they frown on putting breathalyzers in bars. Turns it into a competition. Any support call lasting longer than 25 minutes must be reported to higher ups for review. I.e., if you have too many, no matter if it's your fault or not, you get a disciplinary review. I implemented the rule of politely hang up on a customer as close to 25 minutes as you can and call them right back. I am sorry, I am experiencing a small issue with my phone. Is it okay if I call you right back? Gotcha. Outgoing calls are not reported or recorded. It's amazing. Any software related to job, whether written inside or outside company time, belongs to the company, me. So if I write and release malware at home, it's the company's problem? The clause was immediately removed. Outside company time, that has got to be illegal. My friend worked as a technician at a place that did installation for telecom, sound, cable, pretty much anything tech related really. The techs were paid by work order completion. Each job had a value that got paid out when you finished the work order. The experienced techs could finish more jobs in a day and made some seriously good money. They were motivated to work fast to get more jobs done, but also to do it correctly because having to go back within a certain time window and fix a problem didn't pay out, so it lost money. Well, some new management came in and decided to change everyone to hourly wages. Their idea to make techs focus on getting the job done right and not rushing it. All the really good techs saw a massive pay cut from it and immediately quit. The rest of the techs suddenly had no reason to finish jobs quickly since you got paid the same whether you did 2 installs or 10 installs in one day. So everyone just started slacking off. Within a few weeks the orders were backed up so bad install dates were pushed out for a month or more. And when people finally did get their stuff installed, it took all day instead of a couple hours. That one change completely fricked over the company. Nothing like greedy management to completely frick up a good thing. No cell phones in high school. Security collected them when you walked in, put them in Ziploc bags, and locked them up. They lost like 5 people's phones. Lost. Had a fellow at my old place of work that was promoted to sales manager. Within a few days he drafts up a document which he tries to get all of us to sign, basically stating that we aren't working to our full potential and that to make profits so we would have to work even when we weren't working, aka taking calls from customers no matter the day or time. This resulted in an almost immediate revolt and about 10 plus people bypassing him directly and going right to the owner. He was demoted, then later fired within a week. That's one of the potential problems of promoting within. Some people think they know how to improve the process cause they work in the trenches all day, so they get promoted and start making sudden changes. They don't realize that you can make changes but you can't do them drastically. pizza place I worked at in high school implemented a zero tolerance policy on employees taking home any food home that wasn't paid for at non-employee prices. Any screw ups or unpicked up orders trash. The local homeless population started flocking to the store and calling in bogus orders because they knew there would be free pizza in the dumpster every night. Our process integrity people decided every international order over $100,000 needed to be approved by a manager at the purchase requisition stage before the sales order could be processed. The problem? Purchase requisitions only generated after the sales order was completed. This meant it was impossible to complete any international order worth more than $100,000, and they launched this policy unannounced 2 days before Christmas. I ended up staying in the office until 9 at night trying to get our data people to create a way for me to order $300K in parts from Sweden before the holidays. I was told this story when I was in the army by a parachute rigger. The workday in the army is 9 o'clock to 4:30. Riggers packing troop shoots had a daily quota of 35 shoots. Once they got good at it, these guys could be done by 2:30, which is a very nice workday indeed. Well, they got this new captain who decided that since these guys are getting 35 done by 2:30, then obviously making them work until 4:30 would increase output even more. So of course that unit's numbers went way down, and the 35 and you're done for the day was quickly reinstated. No backpacks in the classroom, which led to hundreds of backpacks in the principal's office one morning. No one gave a frick about that rule. In Germany, you need a paper from your doctor when you are sick at least 3 days. They enforced that you needed one even if you just are away for 1 day. So everyone had to go to the doctor if not feeling right, and of course we were away for weeks. We have the same here in Finland. My superiors accept that you call them if you have fever or something minor. 1-2 days off and mark them as normal working hours, rather than going to doctor and get 1-2 weeks of sick leaves. Works for me, works for them. A big shipping company I worked at for a couple months said we would be working 7 AM to 4 PM. They didn't tell all the new employees, including myself, that holiday hours were going to be 7 AM to whenever the frick we feel like telling you to go home, around 10 to 11 PM. Naturally, people would get in 5 to 7 hours of work and go on break, then just not come back. That led to we can no longer allow lunch breaks. Me and roughly 50-70 other workers quit on the spot. The deputy head of our school banned fidget spinners, and rightly so. In his defense, they were everywhere. On the final day of year 11, someone hacked his school intranet login and edited the bulletin, leaving a notice in his name, saying that fidget spinners were now not only unbanned, but mandatory, and that aficionados could come to his office and learn tips and tricks from him. Real world heroism. Stopped giving kickback for walk-in sales. I work at a hotel and the high management had the bright idea not to give us anything for charging walk-ins, late checkouts, early check-ins and upgrades. So now we give them for free whenever we can. Then some chat will leave that they're certified as they were and charged for X after talking to Y in their TripAdvisor review. Zero tolerance just created a new way to bully. And zero tolerance for fighting did not decrease fights. Those that started the fight were going to get in trouble no matter what, so the consequence didn't matter to them in the first place. All this does is encourage the attack to beat the living crap out of the attacker. Zero tolerance actually made fighting worse at our high school because of this. It was actually my rule. When I was managing a store, my rule was that the closer had to do all the closing work and mark the checklist, and I would check it the following morning. However, I put a loophole in. If you close tonight and open tomorrow, you can come in early the following morning. I was really the only one who closed and then opened the following morning, and I knew that on many of those days I worked 10 hours with non-stop managerial work. So instead of staying late to clean, I like to come in early and do it in sunlight. Well, one day I followed my rule, and the next morning I woke up sick and had to call an employee to cover. He showed up to a dirty store, opted not to clean, and then got written up when the owner made a surprise visit. I didn't close, so it wasn't my job, and the owner said you work here and the store is dirty, so it is your job. I then had to go tell the owner that it was my fault, and he still responded regardless of what you did or didn't do. He came into a dirty store and did not clean it. That's not acceptable. I removed my rule change and just made it mandatory to clean before leaving, lol. A few years ago we weren't allowed to stand in groups bigger than 4 at our school because this old teacher told us it was gang behavior and encouraging gang violence. One day my entire year of like 100 plus people got in a massive group screaming gang gang and throwing gang signs on our school field, so they had to bring every single teacher out to try and split us apart for a straight 20 minutes. Best school day ever. We did a mass hug around the flagpole, then spent 3 days holding any hand of any person you walked by. This was after they told us we could not touch anyone. You have been visited by the magic exams cat. You will pass any exams. No need to comment. Oh, I hope this doesn't backfire. Actually, you can leave a comment and YouTube will show this video to more people. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I post new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.